So hi, Katie here again. So today I wanted to talk about trans women using public facilities like toilets and changing rooms and showers, etc., and spas. I wanted to talk really about trans women using gendered public facilities, and most facilities still are gendered here in the UK. I know in Scandinavian countries that might be different, there might be a lot of more unisex facilities, but as far as changing rooms go and showers, obviously they're single sex, and as yet because there aren't many gender neutral facilities, there's not a lot of facilities for non-binary people either. So this isn't just an issue for trans men and trans women. Obviously, it's a lot of people forget, like non-binary people, where are they going to go if we have gendered facilities all the time? Now the government, I think it's the housing minister, Robert Jenrick. He's very transphobic. He says that trans women aren't women because he says women have to have a vagina, and he's saying trans men are women as well. So he's overtly transphobic, and he's actively trying to change building regulations so that to reduce the amount of gender neutral facilities. So he's going to stop, try and sort of like make life really difficult for non-binary people as well. So that's who he's targeting there, I think, and also trans men and trans women who don't feel comfortable using a gendered facility as well, because there are some, and also cis people as well. Some cis people don't feel comfortable using a gendered facility. So this Robert Jenrick character, he's going to set about doing this, So he's extremely right wing. He's a bit like Viktor Orban in Hungary, that type of person. So anyway, I'll take a sip of water first from my new beaker that I bought. It's nice and sparkly, and it's got these cute little cat ears on there. So I bought that in Cardiff yesterday. There's like a store there that sells kind of Japanese related stuff. I think it's Minimoso or something. So it's really good, and I bought these candles as well. I bought some scented candles, lovely, and I bought that as well. So I do like my scented candles, but I digress. So I'm kind of looking at the notes I've written here. I mean, what I really wanted to say was, although I say in my last video that I wouldn't want to use women's facilities when it comes to changing rooms and showers, I still wouldn't feel safe. I wouldn't feel safe using men's facilities, absolutely not. And I always use the women's toilets, because the women's toilets, or restrooms as you call them in the USA, they're all cubicles over here anyway. So the men's toilets, there's a great big row of urinals usually along the one side as you walk in, and obviously that would be very, very embarrassing, not for the men themselves, I mean, if I were to walk in there. So for instance, let me give you an example of like my history of using public toilets. So so when I started transitioning, I was still using men's toilets, and it got really, really embarrassing and difficult, and I then decided that I needed to start using either the gender neutral facilities, which were few and far between and still are, or the women's facilities. Well, I first knew that I was passing as female when I went to use the men's in, I think it was Bristol railway station, and I went to use the men's, and the toilet attendant said to me, he said, "Excuse me madam, the ladies is over there." So he obviously thought that maybe I was a tourist, I was from abroad, and I didn't understand the signs or something, or the language on the signage. So yeah, so it kind of dawned on me then that I needed to start doing something else than use the other than use the men's facilities. Now, at work, I continued to use the men's facilities a bit longer, while I was kind of transitioning, and I was dressing fairly androgynously at that stage. So I would go into the gents, and people who knew me, that was fine. They knew, oh, that's Katie. Katie can. They knew who I was anyway, because I hadn't changed my name at that stage, but they knew who I was. But we had a lot of visitors to the office as well, and people on secondment, so often I would be there washing my hands at the basin, and a guy would come in, and he would look terrified, and he would kind of dart out again, because he thought he'd gone into the ladies by mistake. So although that was quite validating for me, I also felt really guilty, because I thought, well, it's not really fair on the guys that I'm walking past all the time when they're using the urinals, and it's not fair on people visiting the office who are strangers, who don't know who I am, because they'll look and they think, oh, they got into the wrong toilets. I mean, it's not, it's not good for them. So yeah, so that was another reason. It wasn't just because of me and my feelings, because I found it really awkward. It was also because of the men's feelings as well. And so yeah, so luckily in work we have gender neutral facilities, and I was able to use those, and before I started using the women's toilets. So I mean, what I wanted to say really was that yeah, it's embarrassing all around, but it's also unsafe for trans women to use men's facilities. Whether we've had genital surgery or not, and it's not as simple as a lot of people say, oh, you have men's genitalia or you have a penis, you go into the men's, because, and a lot of guys say that, but do they really know what they're saying? Would they really feel comfortable with a group of trans women walking past while they've got their equipment out at the urinals? I don't think so, and I mean, and how would they know that they were trans women using the men's anyway? Because, I mean, like the women's queue for the toilet is often way longer than the men's, and, and men just kind of go in and go out because they all use a lot of them use the urinals rather than the cubicles. Well, how do they know that a trans woman going into a man's toilet isn't a cis woman who thinks, oh, I'm not going to queue, I'm going to go and use the gents, So yeah, I mean, like, as I say, it's kind of, and also as well, one thing I wanted to point out was the fact that this has been proven as well, that trans women using the men's toilets aren't safe, because on YouTube there are several social experiments, and some of them are quite, they're meant to be quite humorous, but to me they have much more of a sinister side, because there's one particular one where a cis woman goes into the men's toilets and uses the urinals, or pretends to use the urinals, and a lot of the guys obviously extremely embarrassed, and they're saying to her, well, you shouldn't be in here, you should be in the ladies and stuff. And then there's a couple of guys who get really, really sort of aggressive and start giving her transphobic abuse, even though she's not trans. So, and like by the end of the video, there's like a really unsafe sort of atmosphere there. And because the guys who don't think that the guy seeing her using urinal or even going to the cubicles, they're going to assume that she's trans. People aren't. That's and the transphobia comes out then, and the amount of hostility that she had, even within the space of a 5-minute video, shows that really trans women are not safe in men's toilets. And also as well, it goes without saying that trans women are not safe showering or using changing rooms with men. Because, for instance, I'm on HRT, so some parts of my body are obviously female. I have boobies, for instance. That's like the most obvious things I can think of, and I present in a female way or in a feminine way. So I don't see how I could use a man's, I could share changing room facilities with men, and even less so showers, communal showering facilities. That would cause so much chaos, and a lot of the guys wouldn't want to use the facility while I was in there, but others might, sort of take, there might be guys there who would see me and they would like be looking at my boobs and stuff, and it's like, so yeah, it's not safe, it's definitely not safe for me to use the men's. So that's why there need to be, gender neutral facilities for people like me who don't want to use the women's or the men's when it comes to showers and showering and changing. And I think really, to be fair, there should be cubicles, individual cubicles, and in that way then nobody feels unsafe, if there are lockable cubicles. That's what we should be working towards, rather than people demonising trans women and demonising trans men. And also, what happens if a trans man, if you use the facilities of the the genitalia you have, so for instance, if you have a vagina, if you always got to use the women's, lots of trans men have vaginas, and they all sort of like, they're really, obviously, they're men, they look like men and they are men. And what if they go into women's toilets? There would be kind of outcry, So, we just need to be working towards creating gender neutral spaces as well for people. That's what I think. So, and another argument for trans women not being able to use men's facilities or share facilities with men is the fact that how are the wives and girlfriends going to react if a trans woman is showering naked with their husband or boyfriend, or even in the changing room, in a state of semi-undress with their husband and boyfriend. So it's just not going to be popular. Women aren't going to like it, like the groups like, people like TERFs and kind of like religious, right-wing religious sort of conservative type people who are always kind of pushing this, saying, we've got to force women we've got to force women into male spaces, women like me who have have penis, but, they've got to, what do they think is going to happen? How do they think it's going to be popular with the majority of women? Because it's not. If they see me sharing a facility with their boyfriend or girlfriend naked, they're going to think, well, that's unacceptable. I know, they know I have like a penis, but still, I have boobs, and guys can get, off on that as well sometimes, heterosexual guys. So, yeah. So that's all I wanted to say, really. I just think that trans women are unsafe in men's spaces, and that's the main thing I wanted to say. So please do tell me what you think about this. To me, it just seems entirely logical that you create spaces that people who don't want to share facilities with men or women can inhabit. So that's why they're trying to claw back, single-sex facilities. It's kind of retrogressive, and it's kind of like worse than retrogressive, because really facilities should be private anyway for each individual. There might be some people who like to share single-sex spaces, but to be honest, I don't really want anybody to see me naked, thank you very much, you know. I mean, it's not, I'm not having to go nudist is like, that's a totally different thing. Naturists, you know, that's different, they have a right, you know, to be naturists, and there's nothing dirty or awful about that, that's fine, you know. But as, you know, as a general rule for, like, in society, I just think there should be a choice, and people like Robert Jenrick, the Tory housing minister here in the UK, is trying to take away that choice from you. So maybe people, instead of picking on trans women and listening to what the UK media have to say, which are mostly full of transphobic people and owned by about 5 different, you know, 5 kind of billionaires or whatever they are, male cis-het billionaires, you know, who don't reflect the majority of British population. Instead of listening to them, why not kind of like think logically about this and ignore all the transphobic dog whistles and you know, just think, well, what would be the best solution for everyone, you know, including me, you know, because I mean, there's a old saying, be careful what you wish for because it might come true. I mean, if they were to force people to use the facilities of the sex, you know, whose genitalia they have, or, you know, so I mean, if they were to force, if you have a penis, if they force you to use the men's facilities, if you have a vagina, they force you to use the women's facilities, and they didn't think of non-binary people at all, it would be absolute chaos, believe me, it would. So, yeah, so as I said, that's all I wanted to say. Please do tell me what you think about this, what your opinion is. Thank you very much for watching my video. I love your feedback and I love you all. So, cheerio for now. Stay safe.